Everyone present here. I, Yashi Verma, heartily welcome you all to Web Chronicles into the Vortex of Web Development, conducted by Developer Students Club. Firstly, I wish happy 73rd Republic Day to everyone. We have came a long way. Day 1 started with the introduction of web development and its roadmap, as well as some knowledge of HTML. Now, let's get ready to take on day 2 of Web Chronicles. Well, today we are here to extend our knowledge of HTML with CSS and JavaScript as well as with Bootstrap. What's the wait for? Let's begin. For this, I would like to invite Sandesh Ratnawar to take the session ahead.
Yeah, so hello everyone. I'm going to take a session today on CSS. So now, so today we are going to see what is CSS, CSS selectors, some properties of CSS, and we'll do some hands-on practice on yesterday's task we have done, like tribute page, form page, etc. And then we are going to see CSS box model, CSS grid system, and then some introduction to Bootstrap. Now, what is CSS? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. CSS is easy to learn but provides powerful control over the presentation of an HTML document. So cascading in CSS. Now you might be wondering why cascading style sheet, not just a style sheet. So cascading in CSS refers that the styling rules cascade down from several sources, means styling of a higher precedence override rules of a lower precedence. For example, an inline CSS is high precedence than the external CSS. So now we will see ways to include CSS. First is inline. What we saw yesterday in the tables part was the style. The style we have done was inline by mentioning an attribute known as a style in a tag or an element. And then a second one is internal by mentioning a tag style in the header part and then defining the CSS properties of rules. And another one is external. We are going to make an external CSS file with an extension .css and then we will link with the HTML part. Now we are going to see what is internal and external. So we will continue with our tribute page. So here is our tribute page. Now in this we will style heading one tag with a style property. We will add some color to the text. We will will color it as brown. Now we can see its effect on the live server. We can see heading 1 becomes brown color with an internal CSS. So this one is an internal example of internal CSS. So next we are going to see what is that this was an example of inline CSS. Now we are going to see internal CSS. For internal CSS, we'll mention in style tag here in the heading section. And here we will mention the rules. So for mentioning the rules, we'll now see what the selectors are. CSS selectors. So first one is HTML. First one is element selector. So in element selectors, we have just like we select all the elements with a specified element name. In case we want to style all the heading tag with the color brown, so we'll just mention h1 and then we will define all the CSS rules there. And the second one is ID selector. We'll make an ID. We will define an ID, and then we will define the CSS rules for the same. And class is the same thing, but the difference between what ID and class is, ID is a unique, while CSS, while class can be used for other elements also. For an example, we will see like here. First, we are going to see h1 element. Like we want to style an h1 element. So first we will remove and style tag from here. So this is an element selector. Now we'll color it as blue. You can see here we have applied inline CSS property here with an element selector. Now we'll give class to the paragraph tag, and our we can give an ID first. We'll mention an ID para, and for defining an ID we use hashtag and then the ID name. So para is our ID name. So here we will declare the para part. Now if you want to border our paragraph, we will add border border color. We'll color it with brown. And solid. Now we will see the effects. Here you can see by mentioning a CSS rules, we got border around the paragraph tag. So this is what an ID is. You cannot use this ID for another element, just like you cannot add around it article part or another paragraph. You can just use for only this paragraph. If you try to use it on another paragraph, it will not work. Like you can see, we can just see like if we try to mention an ID here, this will not actually what happened here. Okay, for an ID we use it is an unique part actually. Like if you want to just give a unique properties to a specific part of an element, so this is what an ID does. Now will give class. For mentioning a class we will use dot and a class name. Like we are going to give a class name title and we'll mention a background color Burleywood, background color Burleywood, and we'll give a font family to this. We will give Roboto. We are mentioning this font family. Now we will see its effect. First we have to add the class name here. Division, we'll add a class name here. Class title. So here you can see this block as we have defined here, division block from for the heading 1 and paragraph. You can see we have it has background color Burleywood and font family Roboto. We can add the class in the article part too. So here we will add class title. You can see in spite it will leave the image part and the art and the take starting from the article part and ending with the article part. You can see a CSS rules, I mean class title rules background color Burleywood font family Roboto. Similarly we can also give color to the background, like we'll now remove all the CSS now, and we'll style this page to this page. We'll make it responsive and we will give some style CSS styles. So starting from here, first we'll give it a body. We'll give a background color light gray. You can see this whole is light gray color. We got a background color of light gray. This is how we give a color to a background. Now we'll mention a font family for the whole body part. The same we are going to use. We just change the font style from default to the one we have given here. Apple system, or it's like in font family we have given various fonts in order to check the compatibility. If this one doesn't work, then this one will work, and if any of them doesn't work, then sans serif will definitely work. It's like sans serif is like a backup part here. So next we are going to center the first title part, that is Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and the caption written beside. So we'll just write dot title class here. Here we will align the text. We can align the text by text align property. So we are going to align it center. You can see both the things center part. Since we defined the title here, class, so we got a text align center.
Guys, wait for a while. Actually, the network issue has came from the speaker side. Just wait for 5 minutes.
Sorry, there was a glitch in the internet, so I was disconnected. So we are resuming back our session. So last we saw was we have given a background color light gray. Then I have defined a class type. The last thing we saw was giving a background color to the whole body part was light. I have given background color light gray and a font family I have defined. Uh, and then I have declared a class title in which to the division where I have defined this title and the caption for this title. So I have aligned the text center and the font size I have make it larger. It's a standard font size. Then next I have resize the image part and I have declared a class for the image part where I have defined the image and a caption. So what I have done is made that container a flex box. Flex actually makes it flexible when you resize the window. Like if I've been resizing this window, it automatically change the size of an image, and while I make it small, it will change the size of the image and its contents. So see, as a we have more small and small devices coming in the market, like we are accessing web through our mobile phones. So and we are making a code both for mobile and and a big screen such as laptop. So we have which our code should have that property that it automatically changes shape according to the what we are according to size of the display. So here that's why we use the flex property here. Now a flex direction property will make it as a row or column. If I define it as a row, the content will display side by side, and if I define it as column, it will display the content one after another. Now we are going to give some more property to this container such as padding. We are going to give padding here like 2rem. Like what 2rem means that root size of root element font size. जो भी इसका font size है इसका twice. तो padding हमने 2rem लिए यहाँ पर. And then next we are going to give a border radius here to make it more attractive. We will give a radius of 2rem again. Let's see what happens. So as you can see, we got a radius 2rem border radius. It will cover the border of a border part. Now moving towards the contribution to the next division, that is article. We are now going to make it responsive by adding a flex property in here. So we are going to mention a class here once again, and we'll name the class name as content. Okay, so we'll define a class here dot content, and now we'll display it as flex. Okay, so you can see the number here and give it a direction, flex direction column. And one more property we are going to give it as justify content. What justify content does is aligning the contents in a horizontal way, and while we're giving it a center type, we will simply give text align center. So you can see we have aligned this part center. Now next we have is giving a padding to this part. Now we'll give padding auto. It will now we'll give margin to this part. So what margin means? Margin actually gives space around the container. So basically we have this container, so we'll give a margin. First we'll give a top margin here, so that there is some space from the above element and this container. So we'll give it as 5. It has 4 rem. You can see there is a top margin here. Now we'll give a margin for left and right. Left will give 8 rem, and again we are going to give a right margin now 8 rem to make this content in the center. Now since we saw that we can also nest elements in the HTML. So here we have p tag in the article content container. So we are going to define one more thing here, like we are going to select paragraph part of the container article. So we can use this syntax to select a specific element from a class. So here we are selecting paragraph tag of content class. This means we are going to target this part. So we'll now add alignment, text align, justify. We are going to justify. At the starting, I have mentioned that in CSS, one style can override the another style. So what we have done is, first we have mentioned a style here, text align center for the whole container, but then for specific part we have aligned it justifier. So this style cascade over the content style. It means on the parent style. So we have given this part to this, and now next we are going to give a font size. Again we are going to give it a larger, so you can see the change. If we view this part as a whole, you can see there is a margin here and the content is justified, and then we have title which is aligned in the center part. Now next we are going to see, where is it? Next we are going to see styling links. So how we can style links here? So since we have Wikipedia entry a link here, so we are going to style the link now. For selecting a link, we have anchor tag. So we will select by adding a as a, so we are going to element selector. So there is we can also remove this thing, what we say, underline from this and a color from this. So how we are going to achieve this? Let's see here. Text decoration none. It will remove the underline from the specific part. As you can see, there is no underline now. So this is the property which is used to make it text decoration none. So next we are going to see text decoration, color, and now also we can give it as none. So we can change the color, like if our text color is black, so we can give it a black color. You can see the change here, or you can also change it as blue color. Will change the color. You see, by default it's blue, and we click, it changes to red. And there's one more thing, you can make a button with the link. Just you have to mention border, just you have to give a border color. Border color, we are going to it as blue border color, and we'll give a background color. We'll give it as red background. As you can see, this will make a button out of a link. So here you can transform a button into a link. Now if we provide some padding or margin, if we give some padding here like 1 rem, you can see it as proper button here. So all of you have now 10 minutes to revise everything that we have discussed now, and you can drop the questions in your chat box. We will discuss it in the later part. Here is the code screen. Here you can see all the styles we have done till now. I will just make it smaller so that you can view everything. So this is the style we have used. So we are going to see the questions that you have put in the chat box. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल फ्लेक्स डायरेक्शन. सो फ्लेक्स डायरेक्शन एक प्रॉपर्टी होती है डिस्प्ले फ्लेक्स की. जैसे कि जब अपन फ्लेक्सिबल बनाते हैं तो वो अपने को पता चलना चाहिए कि वो कैसे रिसाइज होगा, यानी कि वो कॉलम फॉर्मेट में होगा या रो फॉर्मेट में. अगर रो फॉर्मेट में होगा तो जितने भी कंटेंट्स होंगे वो सेम लाइन मतलब एक सेम लेवल पर आएंगे, और अगर अपन कॉलम यूज़ करेंगे तो डिफरेंट लेवल्स पर आएंगे. जैसे कि अभी अपनों ने यहाँ पर देखा था, जब अपन ने यहाँ पर डिस्प्ले रो किया था तो यहाँ पर ये जो भी इमेज के सेम लेवल में इसका एक टेक्स्ट भी आया था. तो ये होता है डिस्प्ले डायरेक्शन रो वाली में. और कॉलम फॉर्मेट में आप देख ही सकते हैं कि डिफरेंट लेवल्स पे आया, जैसे कि एक लेवल पर इमेज आई, देन नेक्स्ट लेवल पर इसका कैप्शन आया. सो व्हाट आर आर्टिकल एंड फिगर टैग। सो यस्टरडे मैंने आपको बताया था सिमेंटिक टैग्स, तो आर्टिकल और फिगर टैग भी सेम होते हैं। ये एक सिमेंटिक टैग होते हैं जो कि मैंने आपको बताया था कि एक्सेसिबिलिटी इंप्रूव करने में यूज़ होते हैं। Juhi, class is not a tag, class is an attribute through which we can link a class to that tag or element. आयुष, फुल फॉर्म ऑफ REM मैंने बताया ना आपको, जैसे कि रूट रिलेटिव साइज ऑफ रूट एलिमेंट, मतलब उसकी जो फॉन्ट साइज होती है उसका रिलेटिव साइज होती है, रूट एलिमेंट फॉन्ट साइज। Can you please paste the Amit will provide you the whole resource with the code with the all the resources. रिस्पॉन्सिव अपन जैसे काफ़ी अभी देखेंगे, रिस्पॉन्सिव करने के काफ़ी तरीके होते हैं। जैसे एक तो अपने डिस्कस किया यूजिंग फ्लेक्स, और दूसरे भी दो और होते हैं जो कि ग्रिड और मीडिया होते हैं, वो अपन लेटर पार्ट में देखेंगे। व्हाट इज पैडिंग टैग। जो ही पैडिंग टैग क्या करता है, जैसे कि कोई एलिमेंट है, कोई ब्लॉक है, तो उसके अंदर जो टेक्स्ट है उसकी बॉर्डर से उसकी कितनी स्पेस रहेगी वो पैडिंग टैग बताता है। तो वो पैडिंग होती है। जैसे कि यहाँ पर अपने एक बटन लिया था विकिपीडिया एंट्री, तो अपने इसकी पैडिंग आई गेस 2 REM पैडिंग दी थी इसकी अपनों ने, 1 REM अपनों ने पैडिंग दी, तो 1 REM इसकी स्पेस है फ्रॉम बॉर्डर, जो विकिपीडिया एंट्री नाम का जो अपनों ने टेक्स्ट लिखा है, ये उसका डिफरेंस, ये उसका वो है, स्पेस है फ्रॉम द बॉर्डर। सो सिंस वी हैव ओनली मेंशन वन वैल्यू, सो ये सबके लिए सेम होगी। जैसे कि लेफ्ट से भी 1 REM, टॉप से भी 1 REM, राइट से भी 1 REM, और बॉटम से भी 1 REM। लाइक HTML को रन करने की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ती है, जस्ट यू हैव टू ओपन द फाइल बाय राइट क्लिकिंग एंड देन ओपन विथ गूगल क्रोम, सो इट विल ओपन। Yes, we can provide flex direction in form also. We will see that. Ankit, the notes will be provided you soon. We have created a Git repo. We will share it with you soon. इसने, हाँ, जैसे कि मैंने बताया कि पैडिंग रो जो बॉर्डर होती है और उसका टेक्स्ट होता है, उसके बीच की स्पेस पैडिंग होती है, और बॉर्डर तो जो एलिमेंट के ऊपर होती है, तो वही होता है। बैंक ऐसा कुछ स्पेसिफिक तरीका नहीं होता है HTML के अंदर एरर फाइंड करने का, या जैसे कि C++ में अपन को कंपाइलर एरर थ्रो कर देता है, वैसे यहाँ पर एरर थ्रो नहीं करता है। ये आपको एक एक लाइन देखना पड़ती है। और सबसे बेस्ट वे है एरर फाइंड करने का कि अपने कोड को हमेशा एक फॉर्मेटेड वे में रखो, एक सीक्वेंस में रखो, तो वो एक आपको एरर फाइंड करने में जल्दी आसानी होती है। अंशिका, पिक्सल इज मोर सिग्निफिकेंट देन REM। नो, पिक्सल एक्चुअली सिर्फ आपको बताता है, एक फिक्स साइज होती है, बट REM अपने को जो फॉन्ट साइज के हिसाब से बताता है, ताकि जैसे कि कभी स्क्रीन छोटी हो या फॉन्ट साइज चेंज हो, तो उस हिसाब से स्पेस भी चेंज कर सके। जो ही सिमेंटिक टैग, जैसे अपने कल डिस्कस करे थे, सिमेंटिक टैग का मतलब ये होता है कि कैसे उस एक मीनिंग होता है उनके साथ। तो वही, जैसे कि एड्रेस है तो उसका एक मीनिंग होता है जो कि ब्राउज़र भी समझता है और आप भी समझते हैं। सो आई गेस अभी तक अपनों ने जितना भी क्या है, जितने भी डाउट्स आए, वो सारा रिवीजन हो चुका है ना। अब हमको नेक्स्ट पार्ट पर मूव करना है। सो नेक्स्ट पार्ट इज वी आर गोइंग टू स्टाइल अ टेबल। So we are going to style this table. So yesterday we saw how to make a table. So yeah, so I have made a table by using what we have learned yesterday. I had used some more other attributes like spanning, and so we will discuss it now. As you can see, I have made a date time spanning here. So I have made a row span. What actually spanning means? Spanning means मतलब दो जो कॉलम होते हैं या फिर जो दो रो होती है उनको कंबाइन जब अपन करते हैं तो वो एक स्पेनिंग हो जाता है। तो यहाँ पे अपनों ने स्पेनिंग करी है ऑफ दिस टू एलिमेंट्स, डे एंड टाइम। वेयर इज इट? कॉल स्पेन। So yeah, we have done a row span of day and time. This as we saw yesterday, this is one row, two row, three row, four row, five row. So we have done the spanning of first and second row, day time, and then then call span we have done. We have merged these two columns, that for this one, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have we spent last two rows, last two columns, that's 8 or 9 column, and we have merged these two columns here. So this is what yesterday we saw. अब अपन देखेंगे टेबल को स्टाइल कैसे करते हैं। सबसे पहले अपन टेबल TH, ये अपन ने ग्रुपिंग करी है, एलिमेंट्स की ग्रुपिंग करी है, जिससे कि अपन जितने भी क्लास के रूल्स अप्लाई करेंगे वो इन तीनों एट्रीब्यूट्स के लिए काम देंगे, जैसे कि टेबल के लिए भी, TR के लिए भी, हेडिंग के लिए भी और रोज के लिए भी। And we'll also mention TD here. So first of all we are going to change the border here, border collapse. जैसे कल जो भी यहाँ पे ऐसा आ रहा था कि एक मोटी मोटी बॉर्डर्स आ रही थी विथ स्लाइट स्पेस बिटवीन देम, तो अपन ने बॉर्डर कोलैप्स करने से वो एक दूसरे में कोलैप्स हो गई और एक सिंगल बॉर्डर दिखने लगी अपन को। तो ये होता है बॉर्डर कोलैप्स। देन we can give color to the specific color to the cell, like background color, and we will give it light gray. तो देख सकते हैं कि जितने भी सेल थे यहाँ पे उनका कलर लाइट ग्रे हो गया। तो ये अपन टेबल में जैसे कि काफ़ी सारी अपन चीज़ें ऐड कर सकते हैं सिमिलरली, या आप W3 रिसोर्सेज चेक कर सकते हैं, वहाँ पर आपको जितनी भी CSS की प्रॉपर्टीज़ है टेबल से रिलेटेड आप देख सकते हैं, क्योंकि काफ़ी सारी प्रॉपर्टीज़ होती है। एंड नेक्स्ट वी आर गोइंग टू सी मार्जिन। जैसे कि मार्जिन आपको पता है कि जो एक एलिमेंट का ब्लॉक होता है उसके आसपास की चीज़ को अपन मार्जिन बोलते हैं। तो सिमिलरली अपन यहाँ पे मार्जिन देंगे, जैसे कि 2 rem अपनों ने यहाँ पे मार्जिन दी। तो देख सकते हैं कि पूरे कंटेनर की टॉप राइट लेफ्ट मार्जिन 2 rem हो गई। अब सिमिलरली अपन जब पैडिंग देंगे, जब अपन ने पैडिंग दी तो क्या हुआ, जब अपन ने पैडिंग दी तो क्या हुआ कि जो भी टेक्स्ट था यहाँ पर, जैसे कि आपने देखा ऊपर वाला टेक्स्ट, ये वाला पार्ट, तो इसमें क्या हुआ कि जितनी भी बॉर्डर से स्पेस आई थी, जो भी मैंने आपको एक्सप्लेन किया कि पैडिंग क्या होती है, जो भी टेक्स्ट होता है उसकी बॉर्डर से कितनी स्पेस होती है वो होती है पैडिंग। सो these आर सम प्रॉपर्टीज रिलेटेड टू दी टेबल. नाउ अपन आगे बढ़ेंगे with the list. So I have created one list item. सो हियर अपने पास ये एक लिस्ट है. अपन अब देखेंगे लिस्ट को कैसे स्टाइल करते हैं. तभी वी गोइंग टू स्टाइल दिस लिस्ट. जैसे कि मैंने यहाँ पे काफ़ी सारे स्टाइल्स पहले ही दे दिए. डिपार्टमेंट एक क्लास डिफाइन करिए मैंने, डिपार्टमेंट पैराग्राफ. एंड ये सब आपको समझ में आ जाएगा, जैसे कि कल अपने डिवीजन करा था और अभी क्लास अपने करी है. तो अब देखेंगे कैसे अपन एक लिस्ट को सी एस एस प्रॉपर्टीज ऐड कर सकते हैं. तो मैंने लिस्ट से रिलेटेड सारी सी एस एस प्रॉपर्टीज हटा दिए. अब सबसे पहले अपन देखेंगे ऑर्डर्ड लिस्ट के लिए प्रॉपर्टी. सो अपन ने एलिमेंट सेलेक्टर यूज़ किया ओ एल. नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू लिस्ट स्टाइल टाइप. जैसे कि मैंने आपको बताया था कि ऑर्डर्ड लिस्ट में बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट नंबर्स आते हैं. तो अपन अब इसकी लिस्ट स्टाइल इसकी चेंज करेंगे. तो इसके अंदर काफ़ी सारी लिस्ट स्टाइल होती है. जैसे कि अगर अपन को अल्फ़ाबेट्स में करना है और लोअर केस में, तो लोअर केस अल्फ़ाबेट ए बी सी डी आ गया. अब सिमिलरली यहाँ पर अपन अपर केस अल्फ़ाबेट भी कर सकते हैं. अपर अल्फ़ा, लिस्ट की स्टाइल चेंज हो गई. अब अपन को रोमन में लेना है तो अपन रोमन में भी ले सकते हैं, जैसे कि लोअर रोमन. तो सिमिलरली आप ऐसे सीक्वेंस दे सकते हैं इसको. सेम अपन अनऑर्डर्ड लिस्ट के लिए भी कर सकते हैं. लाइक वी कैन गिव लिस्ट स्टाइल टाइप. जैसे कि यहाँ पे बाय डिफॉल्ट बुलेट्स है, तो अपन यहाँ पे इसको स्क्वायर कर देंगे. तो आप यहाँ देख सकते हैं कि बुलेट्स स्क्वायर हो गई. एंड यू कैन ऑल्सो चेंज द कलर ऑफ द टेक्स्ट, लाइक कलर यू वांट टू गिव रेड. तो अपन इसको रेड कलर दे दिया, तो जितने भी लिस्ट आइटम्स थे वो रेड कलर के हो गए. तो मतलब जितनी भी बैकग्राउंड कलर, कलर बॉर्डर, पेडिंग, मार्जिन और ये जितनी भी प्रॉपर्टीज है, आप ये किसी भी कंटेनर या किसी भी लिस्ट आइटम को दे सकते हैं. सो नेक्स्ट अपन मूव करेंगे फॉर्म्स की तरफ. तब एच टी एम एल फॉर्म्स को अपन डिज़ाइन करेंगे. तो कल अपन ने एक फॉर्म डिज़ाइन किया था. लेट्स सी. कल ही अपन ने एक फॉर्म डिज़ाइन किया था जहाँ पर अपने नेम, ईमेल, एक ड्रॉप डाउन लिस्ट, एक नंबर वाली फील्ड, एक रेडियो बटन वाली फील्ड और एक चेकबॉक्स वाली फील्ड अपन ने मेंशन करी थी, और एक टेक्स्ट एरिया और एक सबमिट बटन. तो अपन देखेंगे अपन इसको स्टाइल कैसे कर सकते हैं, और इसमें अपन पूरी डिटेल स्टाइलिंग करेंगे. सो अपन सबसे पहले फॉर्म की स्टाइलिंग से पहले अभी तक अपनों ने जितना भी किया है, जैसे कि टेबल अपनों ने देखी है, देन उसके बाद अपनों ने लिस्ट देखी है, तो आप ये सब प्रैक्टिकल करके देख सकते हैं अपने अपने सिस्टम पर. सो यू हैव सम टाइम. I will share you the code screen, like table part and the list part. You can see the styling here. सो अंकित, बॉर्डर कोलैप्स का मतलब ये होता है जैसे कि अभी आपने पहले बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट जो बॉर्डर्स होती है वो एक टेबल की एक अलग बॉर्डर होती है, देन सेल्स की एक अलग बॉर्डर होती है, तो इसकी वजह से एक डबल बॉर्डर्स आ जाती है। तो अपन बॉर्डर कोलैप्स प्रॉपर्टी को कोलैप्स करके उन जितनी भी जो स्पेस आती है उन बॉर्डर्स के बीच में उनको कोलैप्स कर दे, यानी कि उनको हटा देते हैं। तो ये बॉर्डर कोलैप्स का मीनिंग होता है। सो आई गेस अभी सबको टेबल और लिस्ट अगर क्लियर है उनकी सीएसएस, तो अपन नेक्स्ट फॉर्म की तरफ बढ़ सकते हैं। सो नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू सी फॉर्म। तो जैसा कि अभी अपने डिस्कस किया कि कल अपनों ने एक फॉर्म बनाया था विद दिस ऑल ऑफ दिस फील्ड्स, तो अपन आज इसको स्टाइल करेंगे। सबसे पहले इसको थोड़ा अच्छा बनाने के लिए अपन इसका बैकग्राउंड कलर देंगे। सो वही प्रोसीजर अपन यूज़ करेंगे स्टाइल का, इनलाइन स्टाइलिंग। तो सबसे पहले अपन बॉडी, अपन फॉन्ट दे देंगे सबको। सबसे पहले एक फॉन्ट फैमिली दे दी। नेक्स्ट वी विल गिव बैकग्राउंड। अपन बैकग्राउंड देने के लिए यहाँ पर एक बैकग्राउंड इमेज का यूज़ करेंगे। जैसे कि सबको लग रहा होगा कि सिर्फ कलर ही दे सकते हैं, लेकिन नहीं, अपन बैकग्राउंड इमेजेस भी दे सकते हैं, ग्रेडियंट्स भी दे सकते हैं। तो सिमिलर वी विल ट्राई टू गिव अ टेक्स्ट कलर gradient and a image background. So what we'll do, we'll give body and then before. What before is a pseudo selector. अब pseudo selector क्या होते हैं, जैसे कि बॉडी में अपन कुछ भी लिखेंगे, कुछ भी कंटेंट डालेंगे, उससे पहले अगर अपन को कुछ स्टाइल देनी है तो अपन बिफोर का यूज़ करते हैं। एंड इफ आफ्टर कंटेंट अपने को अगर स्टाइल देनी है तो अपन यूज़ करते हैं आफ्टर, बिफोर की जगह आफ्टर का। तो यहाँ पर अपन सबसे पहले कंटेंट डिफाइन कर देंगे। कंटेंट में अपन एम्प्टी स्ट्रिंग डालेंगे। अपन ने एम्प्टी स्ट्रिंग इसलिए डाली ताकि अपन बाद में जो भी अपन डेटा HTML के थ्रू रेंडर करवा रहे हैं तो वो अपन अपेंड कर सकें। तो इसलिए अपन ने कंटेंट को एम्प्टी स्ट्रिंग दिया। अब नेक्स्ट, अपन इमेज की साइज को, पोजीशन को फिक्स रखना चाहते हैं, यानी कि अगर अपन कितना भी स्क्रॉल करें इमेज की पोजीशन पूरी स्क्रीन पर फिक्स जानी चाहिए, तो अपन पोजीशन फिक्स्ड रखें। देन वी विल गिव बैकग्राउंड। इन केस अगर अपन, तो अपन डार्क ब्लू एक बैकग्राउंड देंगे। ओके, इन केस अगर अपनी इमेज अगर लोड नहीं हो पाती है तो अपन ये बैकग्राउंड देंगे। नेक्स्ट वी आर गोइंग टू गिव बैकग्राउंड image. You can simply mention a URL like I have already have this image with me. I have mentioned the URL of this image. Now let's see what all styles we have given, impact of that style. Okay, we have to add some more CSS to dive into it. Now we will give some Z index. अब Z इंडेक्स, अब आप सोच रहे होंगे Z इंडेक्स क्यों दे रहे हैं। अब Z इंडेक्स का मतलब होता है कि जो भी आप कंटेंट प्लेस कर रहे हो वो पहले आएगा या बाद में। जैसे कि अपने आप पे कोई भी कंटेंट लिख रहे हैं, जैसे कि अपन इमेज ऐड कर रहे हैं तो उसके ऊपर कंटेंट आना चाहिए, तो अपन यहाँ पे -1 इसकी वैल्यू देंगे। अगर अपन चाहते हैं कि दोनों सेम लेवल पर आए तो अपन 0 देते हैं, जो कि बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट होती है। और अगर अपन चाहते हैं कि इमेज के नीचे अगर आप चाहते हैं कि इमेज के नीचे अगर टेक्स्ट आए तो अपन इसकी वैल्यू 1 देंगे। तो अपन चाहते हैं कि अपना जो इमेज है वो टेक्स्ट के नीचे आए, तो अपन -1 इसकी वैल्यू देंगे। तो नाउ अपन थोड़ा और इसके अंदर ऐड कर लेते हैं। बैकग्राउंड इमेज रिलीज सिंटेक्स। We have some more properties that background repeat, लाइक इन केस बहुत बार होता है कि इमेज की साइज अगर छोटी होती है तो बैकग्राउंड रिपीट होने लगता है, तो अपन इसको लिखेंगे नो रिपीट। देन बैकग्राउंड की साइज इंक्रीज करने के लिए अपन कवर, ताकि पूरे पेज को कवर करे, बैकग्राउंड साइज कवर अपन ये से दे ताकि ये पूरे पेज को कवर कर सके। एंड देन वी हैव बैकग्राउंड पोजीशन। सेंटर। so ऐसे प्रॉपर्टीज अपन बैकग्राउंड आगे से बैकग्राउंड इमेज एक्सेस नहीं कर पा रहा है, इसलिए अपन को बैकग्राउंड नहीं मिल पा रहा है। तो इसके थ्रू अपन बैकग्राउंड ऐड कर सकते हैं बॉडी में। लेट्स सी एन एग्जांपल। आई गेस कुछ वर्क नहीं कर रहा है इसके अंदर। इन द प्रीवियसली क्रिएटेड फॉर्मेट, जिस फॉर्म अपने कल देखा था, तो द सिमिलर फॉर्म, देन द फॉर्म वाज लुकिंग लाइक दिस। सो यहाँ पे अपनों ने क्या क्या CSS ऐड करी है, ऐड कर रखी है, अपन वो देख लेते हैं। देखो, जैसे कि अपने बैकग्राउंड ऐड करने के लिए अपने ये सब CSS ऐड कर रखी थी ऑलरेडी, जो कि अपने ऐड करी है, लेकिन किसी का आई गेस वो कुछ दिक्कत आ रही है इसलिए वर्क नहीं कर रही है। एंड वी हैव डिफाइंड group for every label such as name, and this input text we have defined a group, and then for another email and this input box we have defined a group, and similarly we have styled the form. The code for the following will be shared with you all. And now moving towards Bootstrap, we'll now see what actually Bootstrap is. So Bootstrap is an HTML, CSS and JavaScript library. मेजरली अपन इसको बोल सकते हैं एक CSS का फ्रेमवर्क बोल सकते हैं इसको। बूटस्ट्रैप से अपन जैसे कि अपने अपना CSS के अपन जितना भी कोड लिखते हैं उसको अपन रिड्यूस कर सकते हैं, एक फ्रेमवर्क का यही तो काम होता है। देन उसके बाद बूटस्ट्रैप को अपन कैसे यूज़ कर सकते हैं, अपन सबसे ईजियर वे के थ्रू करेंगे, CDN यानी कि कंटेंट डिलीवरी नेटवर्क के थ्रू। अपन को कुछ नहीं करना है, अपन को getbootstrap.com पर जाना है, यहाँ पे गेट स्टार्टेड करना है, और यहाँ से अपन CSS JS के बंडल्स थे इनको कॉपी करके जस्ट अपन यहाँ पे इंक्लूड कर सकते हैं। जैसे कि मैंने यहाँ पे इंक्लूड कर रखी थी इंडेक्स में, तो यहाँ पे मैंने ये सारी जितनी भी स्टाइल शीट्स थी इनको कॉपी करके बस इनको लिंक किया है। तो बूटस्ट्रैप अपन सिमिलरली इसे यूज़ कर सकते हैं। देन नेक्स्ट, अब सबसे पहले ये कौन प्रोवाइड करता है, मैक्स CDN इसको प्रोवाइड करता है, जैसे बूटस्ट्रैप CDN है। तो हम यहाँ पे जाएंगे और यहाँ पे अपने को कोई भी वर्जन चाहिए, जैसे कि जो उसके ऑफिशियल वेबसाइट पर होता है वो करंट वर्जन बताता है, लेकिन यहाँ से आप कौन पुराने वर्जन भी कॉपी कर सकते हैं। जैसे कि अगर अपने को बूटस्ट्रैप 5 का वर्जन यूज़ करना है तो अपन यहाँ से ये पार्ट कॉपी करेंगे और ये सब लिंक अपन अपने पेज में लिंक कर लेंगे। एंड देन नेक्स्ट होता है कि अपन बूटस्ट्रैप को यूज़ कैसे कर सकते हैं। तो अब जब अपन लिंक कर लेते हैं तो उसके बाद अपन को यहाँ पर एक नेविगेट, जैसे मेरे को नेविगेशन बार बनाना है, तो अपन को इसकी ऑफिशियल वेबसाइट पर कुछ नहीं करना है, जाना है यहाँ पे डॉक्यूमेंटेशन में नेविगेशन बार सर्च करना है, नेविगेशन बार एंड टैब्स। तो यहाँ पे अपन को काफ़ी सारे फॉर्मेट मिल जाएंगे नेविगेशन बार के लिए। एक सबसे अच्छा फॉर्मेट तो एक फर्स्ट फॉर्मेट ये है, नेक्स्ट फॉर्मेट ये है। जैसे काफ़ी सारे, जैसे कि हॉरिजॉन्टल अलाइनमेंट के साथ चाहिए, या इफ़ यू वांट वर्टिकल नेविगेशन बार, इफ़ यू वांट इन द टैब्स फॉर्मेट, तो आपको इस टाइप से यहाँ पर काफ़ी सारे ऑप्शंस मिल जाएंगे। तो यहाँ से आपको कुछ नहीं करना है, कोड कॉपी करना है एंड देन आपको लिंक करना रहता है। तो ये सारी जितनी भी क्लासेस है, अगर अपन CSS के थ्रू ऐड करेंगे तो आपको बहुत ज़्यादा लगेगा। जैसे कि ये अपन नेव बार एक क्लास डिक्लेयर करेंगे, देन उसके अंदर इसने कलर, जस्टिफाई, फ्लेक्स, ये सब काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें इसने इंक्लूड करी है। तो ये सब आपको बूटस्ट्रैप से आपका काम काफ़ी कम हो जाता है। आपको बस कुछ नहीं करना था, डॉक्यूमेंटेशन रीड करनी रहती है। अगर आप चाहते हैं कि अगर आप ये सारी क्लासेस समझे तो आप इनको अच्छे से आपको पढ़ना पड़ेगा। देन लाइक बूटस्ट्रैप के थ्रू मैंने एक काफ़ी सिंपल पेज बनाया था, ये आप व्यू कर सकते हैं। ये पोर्टफोलियो, जिसे मैंने अपना एक पोर्टफोलियो बनाया है, तो जैसे मैंने यही किया है कि ये जो नेविगेशन बार था, ये मैंने यहाँ से एक अच्छा सा फॉर्मेट सर्च करके मैंने कॉपी किया। एंड देन नेक्स्ट मेरे को आया ये वाला पार्ट, ये वाला पार्ट। तो इसके लिए भी मैंने एक कंटेनर निकाला और मैंने इसको ऐसे ग्रिड कंटेनर, एक ग्रिड कंटेनर निकाला और मैंने वो एक कॉपी कर लिया। अब आता है कार्ड्स, जैसे कि यहाँ पर आप सब देख सकते हैं, ये कार्ड्स है। अब इन कार्ड्स को बनाने में कितनी मेहनत लगेगी। सबसे पहले मेरे को एक डिवीजन बनाना पड़ेगा, देन डिवीजन के अंदर मेरे को एक हेडिंग, देन उसके बाद एक पैराग्राफ, देन उसके लिए बाद एक इमेज मेरे को बनानी पड़ेगी, और उनको पोजीशन करने के लिए मेरे को काफ़ी सारी स्टाइल्स लगानी पड़ेगी, फ्लेक्स वगैरह। तो बूटस्ट्रैप से आपको ये फ़ायदा हो जाता है कि आपको कुछ नहीं करना रहता है, आपको बस एक यहाँ पे जाना है, यहाँ पे अपन को कार्ड सर्च करेंगे तो आपको हर टाइप का कार्ड मिल जाएगा। एक तो इमेज वाला कार्ड मिल जाएगा विथ अ बटन, देन बिना इमेज वाला विथ अ लिंक, मतलब काफ़ी वैरायटी वाले कार्ड्स आपको मिल जाएंगे। जैसे कि एक टैब वाले कार्ड भी मिल जाएंगे। तो मेरे को ये वाला कार्ड बेस्ट लगा था, तो मैंने ये वाला कार्ड चूज़ किया एंड देन आई इंसर्टेड द फॉलोइंग इन माई कोड। तो ऐसे आप बूटस्ट्रैप का यूज़ करके अपने कोड को काफ़ी सिंपल बना सकते हैं। तो आज का सेशन यहीं पे एंड करते हैं CSS बूटस्ट्रैप का। द नेक्स्ट सेशन आपको आयुष सर बताएंगे। सो आगे मैं हैंड ओवर करना चाहूँगा याशी को। याशी, हेलो याशी।
Okay, thank you, Sandesh, for such a wonderful explanation as well as the practical session. Now, I would like to invite Ayush Pawar to take over the event.
So thank you, Yashi. Let me share my screen. I hope मेरी screen visible होगी.
Yes, it is visible, Ayush.
Okay. So here you are in the tutorial of the most beloved language of web developers and coders. अब आप लोग कहेंगे कि सर आपकी लैंग्वेज है, आप पढ़ा रहे हो तो आप बोल रहे हो आपकी अच्छी है, बट गाइस मैं नहीं कह रहा हूँ। अगर स्टैक ओवरफ्लो की माने तो 2020-21 की मोस्ट पॉपुलर लैंग्वेज है जावास्क्रिप्ट। नाउ इफ यू विल टॉक अबाउट व्हाट इज द मोस्ट hated language, then it's JavaScript. And what is the most loved language? Then it's also JavaScript. With the increase in the use of web apps, we are using JavaScript almost everywhere, even at places where we never used them before. So, from submarine deep inside the ocean to the rockets in the dark sky and a smartwatch on your hand, everywhere, at some point, JavaScript is used. So, let's get started and indulge us in the amazing world of JavaScript. So, in this session, we will learn about what is JavaScript, why it is such a popular language, where is JavaScript used, some basic terms and codes of JavaScript like loops, classes, function, and document object model. So now the question arises, what is JavaScript? If we search JavaScript on Wikipedia, we get JavaScript is a high-level, often just-in-time compiled language that conforms to the ECMAScript standard. It has dynamic typing, prototype-based, object orientation, and first-class function. So this is definition from Wikipedia, and I am sure that you did not understand anything by just this line. Okay, so we can understand about JavaScript by an anatomy. Consider you are an architect, and you have given responsibility to make a city. Not exactly making a city, but to designing a city. So if we see on paper, we see these buildings as a two-dimensional image. But if you look closely, we get to see every building has three basic parts. Structure, which is made of cement and bricks, then the interior and exterior design of the building, and then comes some of the functionalities. Similarly, in HTML, we also have three basic parts. First one is HTML, which is the basic structure of a website. Then CSS, by which we provide a styling to it. And the last and the most important part is JavaScript. JavaScript is a scripting language that is used for dynamic updates in a web page or to control any multimedia. And we can also make animations using JavaScript. And many more things can be done by JavaScript. If we look for stats, then there are around 1.6 billion websites in the world, and among them 95% runs on JavaScript. Now, let's have a look in the history. How JavaScript was born. So in mid 1980s, there was a big bang. Now you will say that, sir, Big Bang happened millions of years ago, not in 1990s. So you are right, but I am talking about the boom of internet. So after the boom of internet, they were everyone talking about internet. From there, everyone was moving towards internet, and at that point, there were only two popular browsers. One was Internet Explorer, and the other was Netscape Navigator. And between these two, there was a war going on. So here, Netscape hired a developer in 1995 named Brendan Eich, who is now known as the father of JavaScript. Um, and Netscape gave them a contract of scripting language, which he has to develop in a very less time. But Brendan itself was a backbencher, just like all of us. So he created a scripting language in 10 days, which was initially called Mocha. And this name was quickly changed to LiveScript. And when Netscape collaborated with Sun Microsystem, this name was again changed to JavaScript. So many of you are wondering that Java is a language and JavaScript is also a language. So are they same? The answer is no. Java and JavaScript are not same. It's just like gulab and gulab jam. They sound same, but they are completely different. Similarly, uh, initially actually Netscape browser uses Java applet supports. So from there, JavaScript had might got their name. But some people also says that it is a marketing tactic since Java was a very popular language at that time. So they use Java to increase the popularity of this language, JavaScript. But Java and JavaScript have a very basic difference. That is, Java is a compile time language, while JavaScript is an interpreted language. So Now let's learn about some features of JavaScript. JavaScript is an integrated language, which is object-based scripting language, which has features like polymorphism, encapsulation, and inheritance. One of the best part of Java is Java runs on any browser, and every browser has its own JS engine. And after the introduction of Node.js, now we can install JS externally on any system. So here you can see there are four JavaScript engines. For Google Chrome, we use V8. For Mozilla, it's SpiderMonkey. For Apple applets, it's JavaScript core. And for Microsoft Edge, it is Chakra. Now, let us begin our journey with JavaScript. But before learning about JavaScript, we should know about DOM, the Document Object Model. Now, whenever we create any web page, we write a structure using HTML. So here the document in document object model is the HTML document. And once our structure is created, we apply the style to, and for that also DOM is used. Since we all are working or styling on the same HTML document. In the last session, Sandesh taught you about HTML, CSS. There you have seen that you write a code in HTML, then you upgrade it with the use of CSS. So let's continue. And JavaScript is the most important part of document object model. So here you are seeing a document object model. So firstly, you can see that there's a document which is our HTML document, and the HTML tag is the root tag of the element or the root element. So this root element have some child elements like head and body. And body, if we consider body as a root element, then then title tag is the child of head tag, and head is the child of HTML tag. And we can see this whole structure in a Java in our code base. There are two ways to see an HTML document. One is the tree-like structure, which we are seeing right now, and the other one is the basic code. I'll show you the code. This is the basic HTML code. So everything which we see here is present here, but the view is different. Here it is a tree-like structure, and this moment it is a code. Okay. So whenever we see a document in JavaScript, we see that document in the form of a tree, because JavaScript is an interpreted language. So it executes every function line by line. So let me explain you the JavaScript of this code. So here I am using an internal JavaScript for this code. We have made we have created a variable named Namaste button, and from here we use a document. This document, by using this document, we specify our document object model, and using the query selector, we use the object, that is our element button. And next, using the same variable, we add an event listener. We will talk about event listener and variables in future classes or the future session. So using this event listener, we created a function that is click, and this will invoke a function name input message. This function is written here. This function says we are using a variable name, the created variable name with prompt enter codes you want to learn. So prompt is a method in JavaScript by which we can ask a user to give a value. And using the same text.content, we are printing it on the screen. So let me show you the output of the code. So welcome to Web Chronicles. Let's learn. So it will ask about to enter a course you want to learn. So here we will enter JavaScript, because we are learning JavaScript. Okay. JavaScript is a good choice. Okay, let's get back to the code. So now, after learning about DOM, we should learn how to add JavaScript. There are two ways to add JavaScript in a code. First is the embedded way or the internal CSS, and the second one is the external way. So here we have seen an internal CSS way where we write our code in the script form. Okay, so first of all, I will tell you what is syntax for writing a JavaScript code in an HTML document. If you are using an internal link, then you just have to write script. First thing I should tell you that whenever you are using a script, you should always use script at the end of body tags. As I've used it here, this is an example of internal JavaScript. So let me use it as an external JavaScript. Will script dash SRC. In SRC, we will enter the JavaScript ID. I'm writing dom.js. I created a file named dom.js earlier, which is the same code. So I am commenting this code right now so that we can see both running here. This is the external CSS JavaScript. We have seen such an example like an external CSS also in the last session with the Sandesh, where you have used it in the head tag. But in JavaScript, we don't use it in head tag because JavaScript is an interpreted language, so it runs line by line. And it happens sometimes that while executing the code, some of the part may not get executed because our JavaScript file was written too earlier in that. So we will remove this part first. We will save the file and we will see the out. So the output remains the same. I will type HTML here, and HTML is a good choice. So here the external CSS, external JavaScript file was uploaded. Okay. So let's continue. Now let's get started with syntax of JavaScript. If you have ever used C or C++, then JavaScript syntax is similar to them. That is also a case-sensitive language that you have to use a variable in capital language. Okay. So first of all, we have to declare a variable. We are declaring a variable x, y, z. Wait just a second, there's a glitch. Okay. So JavaScript is a case-sensitive language, so that you can use a variable in capital letters and small letters, and it also supports Unicode character. That is, you can also use German language also to code it. Now, if you remember C++, we use semicolons to separate our statement or instructions, and similarly in JavaScript, we use semicolons to separate multi-line statement. But if you are using a single line statement, you can just leave the semicolon part. Now, in syntax of any language, the very first thing we should learn is comments. Comments are generally ignored by compiler, but are very essential for a coder to make code understandable and clean. The way we write comments in C++ is similar way we use comments in JavaScript. We use double slash for single line comments and slash and star for multi-line comments. And to close a multi-line comments, we use star and slash. Okay. So next we data types. So before learning about data type, you should understand that JavaScript is a dynamically typed language. That is, if you have studied C++, then you know that before declaring any value variable, we have to write its data type. For example, if you are declaring any int value, you have to write integer value. You have to write int, the variable name, and then we will write its value. And similarly for the string, if you are using string, then you have to write string, then the name of variable, and then its value. But if you want to declare a variable in JavaScript, the keyword remains the same, and you can write any value in it. JavaScript will understand which data type it is, and this is called dynamically typed language. So next, types of types of data. So there are two data types in JavaScript. One is primitive and one is user defined. We will talk about user defined in the further session. Firstly, we will talk about primitive. So in primitive, the first one is Boolean. So let me take you back to VS Code. Where I've created a file. So I will be using all the variables, all the data types here. First one was Boolean. We will define a variable bool and mark its value as true. Close it and write console.log and then bool. Here console.log function is used to display our output in console. So let me save it and show you the console. So here we come to data types. Here on the inspect section, when we go to console, we can see the answer. So here it is showing Boolean. I have never mentioned anywhere that I am using a Boolean, but JavaScript understood that I am using a Boolean value since I have written true here. Next, we will see about undefined characters. So a variable has undefined value when no value is assigned before using it. So you can say that undefined means lack of value or unknown. Let me use it once. Where in infinity. Infinity is undefined, so I'm using an infinity. Spelling गलत हो सकती है. On log. Okay. So let's see the output here. See. Okay. Use dot here. So as you can see here, it is showing undefined value. Next data type is string. I will just copy this code. And I will like equals to. I will give it some value. In a string, we can use double quotes and single quotes as well. So I'm using single quotes here. That's single here. And in type of, I will mention string. I will save the code And in the output section, you can see that the type of string, the type of the variable was string. Similarly, there are two more variables, null and number. See them. You can assign null to a variable to denote that currently the variable does not have any value, but it can have it early on, later on. Let's see the output. It's not defined. See, it shows null is not defined. And the number where is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when we are using null, it shows an object, but when we are using number, it shows number. Why it's showing object on null? Because according to JavaScript, we can define the value of null anytime later in the code. So the next part is variables. Now let's see what is variable. Consider that you have to make a website. This website is used to telecast DSC events live. So when we first log into any new website, it asks for a login page where we have to enter our credentials. Now, if we have to store these credentials, where will we store it? We cannot create a new file every time we have to store any data. So for that, we will use some variables to store the data. Now the question arises, sir, आपने इतना बता दिया पर variable होता क्या? What is a variable? So variable is a container in which we store some value. That value can be a string, int, or boolean, which we have studied earlier. Now there are three keywords used for variable: for, let, and const. Before learning more about these variables, let me tell you how to declare a variable. Let's get back to VS Code, a variable section. So we can simply declare a variable while writing any the keywords where, and I will use my where as the name of variable. So here I have declared a variable. The JavaScript knows that I have declared a variable. There is a variable available here, which has no value right now. So syntax is simple for declaring a variable. We just write where keyword and the name of variable. Now, if we have to give any value to variable, we have to initialize it. Initializing means giving values to a variable. I will give my var some values. Let's give the string value. I will write my name. Ayush. I will console. So I have declared a variable, and now I have initiated also a variable. And if I will see spec, in console my name should be here. So I have initialized a variable with integer value 1, 2, 3. Now, when we after initializing a variable, we also want to change it or remove the variable. Now, for changing the variable, we have to update it. We will just simply write myVar is equals to 4, 3, 2, 5. And now the value of variable will change. See, we have updated the variable with 3, 4, 5. Now let's come back to the slide. We saw three variables here, three type of variables, where, let, and const. So where and let are mostly similar. The only difference between where and let is an updated version of where you can use where keyword you can declare a where keyword as many times as you want, but when we talk about let, you cannot declare let keyword many times. So I will copy it code and write it many times. I am declaring single where keyword many times. It will show same value, but it has been declared many times. See, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now, if I will use let keyword instead of where, then it will not allow me to declare it again and again. This is the basic difference between where and let. We'll save it. And see, it's showing an error. My where is already declared. So while I'm using let, it will not let me declare a variable again and again. The last variable was const. Const is a special variable. When we use const in a JavaScript code, once a value given in const cannot be changed again. Let me show you an example. I will use const instead of let. Save it. Then I will try to change the value. 4, 5, 6. Get back. It shows an error. Assignment to constant variable. This means I cannot change the value of a constant variable. Okay. So next is operators. When we perform any operations on two or more operands, then we use operators. For example, 2 plus 5. Here 2 and 5 is an operand and plus sign is an operator. Same goes for minus, multiplication, and division. Now we have 5 types of operators: binary, unary operator, assignment operator, comparison operator, and arithmetic operator. So what are binary operators? Our last example was of binary operators, where we use 2 and 2 plus 4 or 2 plus 1, 5. At that time, we were using binary operators. The next one is unary operators. While working in C, C++, you might have gone through increment or decrement operators, the I plus plus, I minus minus thing. That operators are known as unary operators. Next one is assignment operator. By its name, it's clear that these operators are used to assign values to other operators. For example, x is equals to y, x equals to y, and so on. Let me show you what is an assignment operator by in code. For that, we will install a special extension. I have just installed the extension. I'm not showing it again. The extension name is Quico. This one. Someone from the team will paste its name in the chat box. From there, you can take the reference. So what this extension does, this extension will allow you to see the result of your operations in front of you while you are working on it. So for that, we will go on run command palette, and we will simply type qk.js new Java file. This will create a new Java file, JavaScript file, and here you can perform operations. So I will like where or x is equals to 2, where y is equals to 5. I will declare a variable z and multiply them. Y. Now if I will print the value of x, it shows 2. If I will print the value of y, it shows 5. And if I will print the multiplication of them, that is z, it will show me 10. So by using this extension, you can just see what you are coding with the arithmetic operators just on the screen. So we have used an arithmetic assignment operator here, which was the equals to. So there are many operators in JavaScript. We cannot teach them all right here. So the team will post the link of this page. Here you can get all the operators which I taught you earlier. So here you are in assignment operator, additional, subtraction, multiplication, then bitwise no, or logical operators, and also our next operators also comparison operator. You can see them all here. You can just learn about them from this place and execute it in your code. Next part we are having is if and else condition. Every JavaScript code runs in a flow, and that flow is called control. For example, if we have 5 statements, then firstly statement 1 will run and execute, then second statement will execute, and so on. But if you have to change the flow of this document, then we have to use conditional statement. Very first conditional statement is if else statement. Let's see with an example. So yesterday we have a quiz. You all have enjoyed the quiz. We played a quiz. In that quiz there were 4 questions, and among them only one was right. So how did the computer know that this question is right and this is wrong? So for that the computer uses if else statement. If the answer is right, it will show questions you won. But if the answer is wrong, it will show better luck next time. So what is the syntax of if else statement? This is syntax of if else statement. We will write if, then we can add the condition, and in the curly braces we write the statement which is to be printed when the condition is true. If the condition is not true, or we say it is not following our code, then we will use else statement to tell any other statement. So let's see a code in JavaScript. On if else statement. So to save time, I have written a code here. Let me zoom it for you. So this code says if so before I have declared a variable here time, and I am asking the user to enter any time. What is the time now, or what is the time? So if he types anything bigger than 5, or if he types anything smaller than 17, then the alert will say good morning. And if it types any other thing, then it will say good evening. what's the time? I will type 6. It says good morning, but here if I type 18, it will say good evening. If you want to use multiple if statement in any code, then you can simply use if else statement or else if statement. I will write here else if given condition time is bigger than 12, time is less than 17, it will show good afternoon. Well, else it will show good night. The time, if I will write 5, says good night, because in the code we have written before 5 anything is good night. I will mention 13, that is 1 o'clock, it says good afternoon. Now let's check. The next thing is switch. So switch statement, if we had to add choice in our code, then we use switch statement. Its syntax is like this. We write switch, then we write any expression. The expression is the value we ask from the user. Then we write some cases and value of it. The answer we get in the expression, if that answer matches with the value, then that case got executed. So I have created a switch case statement for you all. First, I have to show the code. So this is the code for our switch case statement. So here I have asked the user to enter their college name. And on their input, I will display the full name of the college. So let's enter the code. And it's asking for a value. If I will write AITR, it will show the college of Acropolis, the name of Acropolis College. And if I will show the name as it will show the name of Shahid Rajguru College of Applied Science for women. So let's now continue with functions. Function is a set of statements that performs a task or calculate a value. We create functions to make our work easy. Since we can use single functions many times in a code, syntax for function is we write function, the keyword, and the name of our function which we want to give it. Then we perform some parameters in it, parameter 1, parameter 2, parameter 3, and under that function some code is written that is being executed. I have created an example for functions too. So here is a example for functions. So this function is basically a recipe of making Maggie. So calculating time, what time will take to make a Maggie. So I have created a function with name Maggie time, and I have declared some parameter in it, Maggie, water, and pan. So and I have taken its output in console, and just declaring a function does not mean the function will work. We have to use it or to call a function. Here I have called a function Maggie time, and I have all the parameters I just used earlier, I gave value in those parameters 2, 4, 1. So we are using 2 packets of Maggi, 4 cup of water, and 1 pen. Let's see the output of code. See, so your Maggi will be ready in 4 minutes. Now let's get the code. So this is the most used code of JavaScript. There are get element by. This is the most used code of JavaScript. There are 2 values to be taken from value from Java HTML document. One by ID and second by class. ID. So here I have declared an paragraph type with an ID intro and a paragraph with an ID demo. So here I have written element 1 and we are using the same document object model here. We use the keyword get element by ID. This will get our element P with the ID intro, and in the next line we get our element demo, element P with the ID demo. Here inner.html verifies that we have to print this value inside our HTML tag, and what value will be print? We will print this text from above P tag with ID intro plus the element 1 dot inner. So element 1 was our ID with intro. We use it to find elements by their ID. This tag. This is the output of the code. The text from above P tag with ID intro, we use it to find element by their ID. We print this line again here using ID tag. Similarly, there is also a way with the class name. This is the code for value with class name. Here I have created a document and I'm getting its value with the class name intro, and then I am filling its value in the class with the ID name demo. Here index 0 means the first time class was used. If I will just make some amendments in the code, copy this line and paste it here multiple times and change some things in the code, that remove hello or remove world. Then if I will save the code and see the output, it says hello world. But if I will change the index, it's 1, it will show hello, which is this code, the first one. So this is my part from JavaScript. JavaScript is a very vast language, and to learn it in such a small time is it's not possible. So we have just seen some introductory part of JavaScript. So where you can practice JavaScript, we have learned some parts of JavaScript and now we have to practice it. So to practice JavaScript, you can use these websites. The link for these website will be pasted in chat box. Handle over to Yashi.
Thank you, Sandesh and Ayush, for all the knowledge that you have provided us today. Now it's time for the Q&A session. And after the Q&A session, an amazing fun quiz will be there for all the participants. Now you all can ask any questions or doubts regarding all the topics that we have covered today You can ask your doubts in the chat box. Coming to the summary of event, we had all completed the CSS part. We had also learned how to implement the JavaScript as well as Bootstrap. So you all can ask the topics, doubts regarding these topics in the chat box.
So Sampada in Bootstrap, it was nothing more, but we just saw how to link Bootstrap to our like I must share my screen. So we saw how to link Bootstrap to our HTML document so that we can use, and how we can get insights from the Get Bootstrap, the official website of Bootstrap, and we can see various structures of navigation bar, content part. So you can see there, like you can visit the official Bootstrap website, and here you can click on the Get Started, and like this one, you just click Get Started, and you can copy the letter, and you can copy this part, this link CSS JS and bundle, so that you can, and then you can copy this in your head part of any head part of the code, so that you can able to use all the classes of the Bootstrap. And then we saw how we can make navigation bar using Bootstrap. We just came to this website and looked for a proper navigation bar that we need. Like this one, we have a simple navigation bar and with different varying styles, and select one, and we just need to copy this part and change the content as per our requirement. So this is what we saw in Bootstrap today. Khushi, how to add animation? Yeah, actually, you can. It's actually very vast topic, and you can. So you can have a one course, that free code camp course, and we will provide you the link here in the chat box. So you can take the course, and the course name is Responsive Web Design. There you can get all the from animations, media queries, everything you need. You will get from there.
Okay, guys, now all your answers will be answered in the chat box. Let's move on to the fun quiz. Now it's your turn to show your knowledge. So to keep your brain gear up and running, let's get ready for the fun quiz based on today's session. So be sure to participate in the quiz. The quiz will be on for 5 to 10 minutes. The link to the quiz will be posted in the comment box. The fun quiz will have 7 multiple choice questions. All the overall winner of the quizzes will be announced on day 6. For the quiz, please follow the specified name, as only those participants with the correct name format will be eligible for the prizes. Your format should be name, year, college. So people, get ready, your time starts now. I'm again repeating, your format for the quiz will be your name underscore your year underscore your college. For example, Moisha underscore 3 underscore AITR.
Okay, so now we are starting the quiz. Anyone left, please join fast. Make sure you attend the quiz only once, else you will be disqualified. All right, now we'll end the quiz. Hope you all had fun attending the quiz. At the end, thank you to all the audience for attending the event. The link of the attendance form is posted on the chat box. So I request all the participants to fill the attendance form. Meet you all in tomorrow's session to continue the journey of web development. Till then, stay curious, keep learning. The link to all social media platforms is posted on the chat box. You all can join our community to get updates about events or workshops and interact with our GDSC team. I wish all the best to everyone. Thank you and have a nice day. Thank you all for attending the session. Once you have filled the attendance form, you all can leave.
Yes, you all can leave the meeting.